baby, and we're back, everybody. Welcome back to Words with Wayman. I am your host, as always, Matt Wayman. Support us online, Words with Wayman on Twitter, Words with Wayman on Facebook, Words with Wayman on iTunes. I'm making that quicker every time. We're getting it out of the way because we're getting into a part two. Bi-City comedian, Michael Karlik.
Oh, it's my continued pleasure to be here.
Does that make sense? To the Bi-City? You live in more than one city to do comedy?
Multi-regional.
Multi-regional, thank you. We were talking a little bit about in the first episode kind of how you make it work living in Denver for part of the year and also living in New York for part of the year. To do comedy, you have to write. How do you write?
How do I write? Usually, I'm someone who has to just have a glance of inspiration, and then I pound out a 3 or 4 minute joke. I'm not someone who sits down every day for an hour and just writes whatever comes to mind and polishes that. I just have to have that spark in my head for me to write a joke.
Nice, because you do write a little bit of longer stuff. It's not just like one-line jokes by any means. You definitely get in there and do 2 or 3 minute bits. Is it usually something you see on TV? Is it something that makes you angry? Is it something that makes you happy? Or is it just something?
Oh, I'm definitely not an angry comic.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, as you can tell by my tone, I'm more of a mellow, just take it as it goes person. Mm-hmm. And I think that when I see something that makes me angry, I kind of flip it over and channel it into what's the thing here that I could make universal about it that doesn't make me come across as just, I hate the world. And I do that to the same thing that makes me happy. I'm like, what can I flip this around to show the people what really annoys me about this thing?
So the different way of looking at it as opposed to just the way that everybody else looks at it, looking at it from that different angle.
Exactly, yeah.
Have you ever done improv?
I have.
I think I feel like that's kind of like an improv ideal a lot.
Yeah, because improv is all about listening for that one thing that you can create a whole new scene off of.
Huge thing about it.
Yeah, it's just a completely bland line. I have to go to the dentist today, and there's a new scene about...
I get to go to the dentist, say the dude that's really happy to go to the dentist for some stupid reason.
Exactly. You're not happy to go to the dentist?
Yeah, why wouldn't you be? It's so fun.
I love fluoride.
Get all that laughing gas. Fluoride's a conspiracy. It only works topically. And then, where did you do improv at, or for how long?
I did it here in Denver at the Bovine Metropolis Theater and also this free kind of faith-based improv place called Monkey Butler. Yeah. And I did it for about 2 years, and once I moved to New York, I stopped doing it because
I tried to go meet up with Monkey Butler one time, but I got lost.
I remember.
My phone died.
I invited you, and then you never showed up.
I was driving around for an hour, and I got all upset and went home. My phone died.
It is confusing to get to. It is in the Batcave. Yeah,
the Batcave. I couldn't find it. I didn't know the secret password. I think improv really teaches you how to write dialogue, too. I think that's one of the best parts of it. Because you can kind of like feel like, would this sound like somebody would say it? Or like even when you're writing stand-up, you're like, I can tell how a normal conversation would go. Yeah,
it also teaches you to shut up, which is, I watch so much bad improv where someone has an idea and they say it, another person has their idea and they say it, and it's at the exact same time and nothing gets across.
Just listening?
Yeah.
Listening is the number one thing.
Yeah, and that goes back to, going to open mics and riffing, just listening to what the last person said, finding out what triggers in your own head, and then just talking about that for a minute.
Yeah, I know my stand-up completely changed when going into riffs and stuff when I started doing improv. Just because they're more fun. It's like more fun than telling a joke that you wrote. Mm-hmm. It's just improv that comes off the top of your head.
Yeah, and you also pay attention to the way people say things, not just what they say.
Yeah.
If they emphasize a certain word or they use the wrong phrasing or whatever, then you can talk about that.
Yeah, what emotion do I come in with this too? Emotion's really big in improv, so it's like you have to pick your emotion right away.
Exactly.
I feel like you got to do that with a joke too, because how do you feel about this right away? They want to know. Mm-hmm. And then you can get into the rizzle dizzles and all the razzmatazzes.
I don't speak urban.
Let's see. So, what are you thinking? You're going to stay in Denver for a little bit?
I'm not sure. I go back.
You're getting married.
I am getting married.
We talked about this a second ago.
I know. You're also getting married.
I'm getting married on September 17th.
I'm getting married on September 18th.
Which is crazy.
To each other.
Oh my goodness.
No.
You live right down the street. I feel like we're the same person.
I don't have a giant zebra head on my wall.
Yeah, that is kind of the star of this podcast. It's the only reason people come over, I feel like.
I forget what you even asked me.
Oh, I said so. What's your
whether
plans?
I'm going to stay in Denver.
Yeah.
I think about this every day. I think about quitting comedy probably 3 times per day on
God, I
average.
wish I could quit comedy. The day I can quit comedy is going to be the best day of my life.
Yeah. My girlfriend wants this to be a hobby for me.
Yeah, I think all of our fiance girlfriends want that to be a hobby.
Yeah, I think if everyone in the world agreed not to pay stand-up comics, it would easily just become a hobby for all of us.
Why do they pay us sometimes? I have no clue.
I don't know. It's awful. It's awful.
It's a needed thing.
Yeah, so I might stay here. I might go back east. I've always wanted to live in Pennsylvania. That's where I grew up for about 10 years, and so I might
What part of
go back
Pennsylvania?
there. Central Pennsylvania, Harrisburg.
Okay.
Yeah, so
pretty country.
Yeah, near Amish country.
Yeah.
I might get a house near like Jebediah.
You're a
and Eli.
rambling man. Do you think you'd be able to settle down in a little country and be happy for years?
I worry about that all the time. I think I'd have to like write murder mystery novels or be like a psychic consultant to like police force or do something weird so that I can rationalize living in a completely normal, completely bland small town environment.
I know. It's supposed to be. It's like at that point, it's just you have to challenge yourself all the time.
Yeah. And I'm someone who wants to see the country. I'd like to travel. I like to just get in my car and drive, but you can't do that like you used to.
No, not financially. There's one comic in town that does that, and he just saves up money for like 5 months, but he has no other commitments. He doesn't pay rent.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a significant other.
And he's okay with sleeping in a car on the side of the road.
He sleeps in his car on the side of the road. A lot of Walmart parking lots. It's like, man, at that point, that's a rough life too. You know?
I just want a hotel, not a fancy one, but maybe a Best Western.
Hotels, they are few and far between on the road, as I've seen. In Baton Rouge, you get a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. Unless your mom decides to buy you one a night because she feels sorry for you.
Yeah.
But it's the most fun, too, seeing this country and meeting the good people of this country. I think everybody thinks of this country and like places they haven't been. Like they're just shitty people and backwoods people. It's like there's awesome people everywhere.
Yeah, and the scenery is fantastic. Even Colorado, you go 2 hours south of here to Pueblo, and it's like one of those Western landscape paintings. You got the mountains to the west, the plains to the east.
Oh, goodness.
It's beautiful. To say nothing of driving into the mountains themselves or going far out on the plains to almost Kansas and watching the tornadoes eat you alive.
I know, that's crazy, man. I remember we were down in New Orleans seeing water spouts, and that's the closest I've seen to tornadoes, but they're pretty scary.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing where we're from. I'm from St. Louis originally. I'm from Missouri, but we got we're
I can tell by your accent.
on the back end of Tornado Alley right there. So maybe get some land. That's crazy. We're getting married one day.
I know. Where's your wedding?
Hannibal, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
Just trying to do it on the cheap. No, a lot of her family's from there. All my family's in St. Louis, so it's just natural to do it right in the middle because they're only like an hour and 30 minutes away from each other.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, our family's in Virginia. My friends are in New York, so naturally we're doing it here in Denver.
Yeah, that's a perfect idea because screw the friends. You guys are coming out to Denver.
Yeah. I can take the light rail.
Have you been involved in much of the planning?
Not a lot. I'm going to be involved for sure when we do the tastings of the menu. That's going to happen pretty soon. We sent out invitations last week. It got the wrong date on the invitation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. To be fair, I should have proofread it, but I'm lazy. So my aunt called me. She was very irate. She was like, I'm very upset that the date is different from the number on the... And so we have to call everyone and fix it.
That's crazy. That's too bad.
Yeah.
Proofread. Lesson learned.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to have another one of these. So
This is it for you?
This lesson is wasted.
I've been... my lady's been forced me out of the planning. I don't bring any good ideas. I've just been hanging out to the wayside and just waiting for the tastings as well.
Fantastic.
We're doing barbecue.
Okay. We might do pasta. Both of those are pretty messy.
I want people to mess up some clothes if they're going to come to my wedding. So how did you get into comedy at first?
I moved to Denver after college. It was just a completely new city, a new experience.
What did you study in college?
I studied comedy.
They have that degree now. It's like this.
They do. In at least one place, they have a comedy degree.
It's gross.
This country's going down the tubes. Trump! Also, in college, I studied government history and public policy.
Perfect to get into comedy. That's pretty much a comedian's path right there.
Yeah, I thought I would either work in like Congress or local government or a nonprofit. The Daily Show. Yeah, all those things are related. That is what you said, right? Daily Show?
Yeah, Daily
okay,
Show.
I was reading your lips, and I can't do lip readings.
He's actually deaf, guys, so this has been going pretty well the whole time. You
Yes.
have been nailing it.
I am. Let me just pull off my mask. Helen Keller, how did you get in here?
Not again. She was on the podcast last week, too.
Oh, I heard that episode.
It was terrible.
Dead air.
Me yelling at a wall. So you moved up to Denver and you just went to a mic?
Yeah, I just wanted to try something new. I was volunteering
Something
for
real.
Yeah. I had written some jokes. Well, I thought it was real at the time. Little did I know, but I had written some jokes right around when I left college. I had like 5 or 10 pages of stuff, like paragraphs of
Nice.
stuff. It wasn't
Yeah.
any good. But then I went to a mic out here, and then I went to a couple more, and I did improv simultaneously because I figured why not just do
Very
it all at
similar,
once.
Easy crossover, I feel like, probably at that point.
Yeah, and I was doing it a couple nights per week at first, and then several nights per week, and then it became more or less what I did for fun.
That's how you get the bug. I feel like either the first couple times you do it, it's like you have to keep doing it, or else you just kind of like stop. You just like find yourself at a bunch of mics all of a sudden, or you're just like, okay, I don't need to do this.
Yeah, I mean, there are times now where I just get into 3 days of not going out, and then I think to myself, I could just keep not doing comedy.
Oh, absolutely.
Forever.
Definitely. When I know I've been taking I've been going 3 or 4 days for like the first time in a couple of years just to focus on writing and actually producing material and
Exactly.
content. But it's the same way. But I always feel like if you're still writing, then you're fine. Once you stop writing, it's over.
Sure. And I try to do Twitter every day, and I'm writing a book, so that takes up a good deal of my time.
Do you want to tell
every
the
day.
people what your book's going to be about?
My book is about people who fake their deaths.
Oh, cool.
It's a nonfiction book, but I'm writing it kind of in my cheeky, humorous first-person style.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That
and
sounds super cool.
yeah, and I've been writing it for about 6 months. I've done a ton of interviews. The interviews have been the best part. I got to go to the coroner in Denver and see the morgue with all the dead bodies. I've talked to private investigators. I talked to this lady who her kind of deal is she investigates internet hoaxes online where people say that they have experienced a death in the family due to cancer or whatever, and she digs into that and saying, no, this person is made up. They never died. So why are you lying to the people?
Crazy. And you just tell these people you're writing a book and they're just like, yeah, we'll talk?
Yeah. I mean, there are books out there about people who have faked their deaths. And of course, it's in the news all the time. But I'm trying to just provide a comprehensive view of what it takes to fake a death and who all the people who would be involved in investigating that are.
Cool.
And there's also, I'm investigating this one case study. It happened back in 1894.
Good year.
Yeah, a great year for faking your death. And I'm trying to find all these documents from 125 years later about what happened to figure out if this guy actually did fake his death. And it's been so tough.
That's awesome and super interesting.
It is super. It's like Serial.
Is this the first journalistic endeavor that you've taken upon?
I was on my school newspaper in
So you were cracking the stories about the juice boxes, the milk boxes early.
Exactly. People don't know this. I investigated Watergate.
Except Watergate was just the fact that the janitor kept spilling a bucket in the hallway.
Someone had to get to the bottom of it, Matt.
It's the guy that carried the bucket around all the
Old Mr. Gonzalez.
Well, that's super exciting. Thanks for sharing that with people. I know some people are secretive about their books because they think people steal them.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. So I started this 7 months ago, and I did a Google search for everything out there about people faking their deaths. A week ago, I did another Google search, and there's this lady out there with a book coming out this year about people faking their deaths that's written humorously, and it's interviewing almost the exact same people I interviewed.
From Denver?
No, not from Denver, but I don't know where she's from.
Yeah.
But that was disheartening because it's like
That's
she's
crazy.
doing this exact same thing, and she's got Simon & Schuster as her publisher. So there's this big book coming out, and then
Are you going to go through? Are you going to try to go to a publisher?
Oh yeah, I'd like to do self-publishing as a last resort.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to send it out to as
To
many people as I can.
Legitimize it. Good for you. At least I appreciate people taking actual steps and making things happen, as opposed to being like, I could write a book. It's like, we'll write a book then.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of good ideas. Most of them I never act on, but
Nice.
I figure if I want to keep doing something creative for my life, then I just need to figure out what
Passive
that
income.
thing is.
Have that money rolling in while you do your other stuff, because the book could create income that comes in for a long time.
Sure, and I'm not someone who likes to do podcasting, sketches, stand-up, and a bunch of other things. I like to pick one thing and do it as fast and as hard as I can, and then pivot to something else after
Nice.
that.
Fast and hard. I'm liking where this is going. We're getting down to close to the end. The question I asked to everybody that comes on the podcast. 5 years, best case scenario. What would your life look like?
I'm going to give a couple different options. One, I'm dead.
Choose your own
Two,
adventure. The best case scenario would be I'd be dead.
Either I can make a living off of stand-up comedy and book sales, and I'm a critically acclaimed humor journalist, first in the world. I'm the Rosa Parks of doing funny writing.
Back of the pun? No, that's bad.
Or number two, I live in Pennsylvania in a nice house in Amish country, and I work on the trains. I'm a big old train
boy.
Yeah. Overalls and a bandana and all that. I have a dog named
You look
Cleveland.
really good in overalls.
Thank you.
I'm having a good. Maybe I'll Photoshop that and put it up on the internet.
Oh, please do. Please do. Please put a big mustache on me while you're at it.
Well, that's fantastic.
Or option three, I'm elected to Congress.
Yeah. I think you're smart enough to do any of those. I think you're a sweet boy. I want to thank you for coming out and doing this little podcast.
Matt, it's my pleasure. Next time we'll do it at my place.
Yeah, we can't just stretch that mic cord because it's so close.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening out there. Support us online. Words with Wayman on Twitter, Words with Wayman on Facebook and iTunes. You want to give your interwebs to people?
People can find me on Twitter. It's a relatively new social media platform based around the notion that people should only say things in 140 characters or less. Brilliant concept.
Yeah.
You can find me at Michael Karlik, Karlik. Michael, of course, spelled the Christian way.
The Christian way, the right way, everybody. You guys did it the right way by listening to this podcast, guys. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you all soon. And we'll take it.